1,787 people have been murdered in Gauteng between October and December 2023, and 55 of those were children. The latest crime stats reveal a grim picture of crimes committed against children. A report by Statistics South Africa released this year titled Child Series Volume 2, Crime Against Children, shows that rape cases for children increased by 6.3 percentage points between 2015-2016 and the 2019-2020 financial year. Let's now bring in Kidz Clinic manager Elizabeth Mokoena for this discussion. Elizabeth, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. What do you make of the stats that were released by the Provincial Police Commissioner around crimes in Gauteng, but specifically how it affects children?
It affects children a lot, mentally, physically. It affects them a lot. It affects them too much because it's a problem when it comes. They've been abused. Give out to Baba abuser. You'll find out a lot. The perpetrators, ki uncle, ki malume, ki rangwani, but one is protective and give one Baba abuser. And in the society now people are sick, and I think they're psychopath or something. Yes, they are mentally adult are not acting well.
Well, if you look at, for instance, the murder stats at a national level, there has been a slight decline in the number of children that have been murdered. It says that in contrast, that 34 fewer children were murdered, 62 fewer victims of attempted murder, and 242 more were victims of assault, GBH, which speaks to the point that you are raising. But here in Gauteng, we see that there has been an increase. From 2021, there were 44 children that were murdered, and now that number stands at 55.
It's too much. Actually, when it comes to that, domestic violence could include and then like dependency. Both may depend to their partners, so they put their children into danger. That's why you'll find maybe they will sell their children to their partner or to the people who will need parts from kids, whatever they will use the parts of the child for, then they will sell that. Unemployment also, it counts a lot. You'll find a woman maybe make a single parent, for to get where she wants to get. She's killing the nation, and then everybody would look when you do that to a child. And people understand why can you do that to your child.
Is there any incident, Mokoena, that you know of where you've dealt with the case of this nature?
Is
there one that stands out for you?
For no Alexander Arso Billion, you will be or you find out the mother maybe utilized abortion or buried the child in the house. The incident knows the girl who so she's done abortion because when she was pregnant, the other child was still small. Then she done abortion, half it is the illegal one. Then buried the child behind the house. It was a recent one, and she's still in court, that one.
And with that, with the illegal abortion, is it known where she did it?
Yes, she explained to me. Actually, the complaint came to me, and I went to visit her. Then I called her into to our offices. Then when she came to the office, I asked her, this allegation came to the office. So me and you, while sitting here, how can we help you on that? And before, when she talked, she was denying I didn't do it. At the end, I told her, it's better we'll take you to the doctor. If I don't follow up the case properly, then we'll be having a problem at the office. Then she agreed, I did it. The reason for me to do it, my other child was still small. That's why I went and do it. Because I went to Joburg Gen, then they told me the pregnancies are now due. They cannot do it with me.
Do you remember how many months into the pregnancy she was?
But when she told me, she said she was 4 months.
Okay.
Then she went back to the illegal. There's a number somebody gave her. She called that number. Then they gave her the pills to go and do it herself at home. Yes. Then it's how she used the medication. She was in pain. Then the baby came out. Her mother was not at home. There was no one. So she decided to go behind the house, dig a shallow grave, then bury the child.
How old is she?
She's 30.
30?
Yes.
Okay. So with incidents of that nature, what then do you think should happen when it comes to conversations about women and sometimes even young women, sometimes even in their teens, who fall pregnant but do require the help and the necessary attention that is needed for a woman to decide what happens with her reproductive health?
They do decide themselves, but some of them, they decide when it's late. It's like when they will tell you, but 4 months, I don't think in a hospital they say, no, it's only 6 months and 7 that they don't do it.
Yeah.
So that's why they had to go to the thing. They always go late. Then it's late for them to get help. And then it's where they go for the illegal one. And it becomes danger to them.
Yeah. So the one aspect is, of course, children becoming victims of crime. But what we've seen also playing out is how children also now become in conflict with the law. There was an incident that we were reporting on in Ekurhuleni where one of the school children there shot a principal. Speak to us about children being involved in crime.
Yeah, that one, it's getting worse and it's getting out of hand. That also, you know, when the child, he doesn't get attention, the child will have a behavioral problem to get attention. That's why the juveniles, they will be conflicting with the law. The child, when at home maybe something is happening and then you don't give attention to the child, then they will have a behavioral problem. That's what pushing children. Because sometimes you'll sit with them, interview, why did you go to ShopRite and steal, or why did you do this? Then it's where they will explain, or at home, I don't get any attention from my mother or from my father. So it's how the child in the mind they seek attention, but committing, doing something wrong for them to get attention from the parents or from somebody.
Do you think that there's a link at all between what the children see happening in terms of the crime that plays out around them, because they do form part of society, and where they also then become victims of crime, but later on become people who are in conflict with the law?
And peer pressure also it happens, because they will be seeing maybe the uncle next door is driving big cars, and when they find out, it's like the car has been hijacked. So they want to be like the uncle next door who's not working, who's having a lot of money. So they also want to experience that, while they forget that they will be in conflict with law. Yeah.
The allegations of rape and sometimes cases of rape against children, that report that we were speaking about earlier on from Stats SA says that in comparison between the total reported cases of rape and sexual assault to the police compared to those registered for children aged 17 years and younger shows consistently a higher per capita rape and assault rate among children. Per capita rate of rape among children rose from 96 per 100,000 in 2015, and that jumped to 103 per 100,000 children in 2019. What's the problem here from the research that you've done and from the children that you've spoken to?
Yeah, that one is very, very difficult. Because some children also, you know, some in other townships, there is no privacy. So kids will see that. Sometimes they'll watch TV or they will see, then they will try. It's like in a culture thing when kids will play maybe mantwan. You know mantwan, when you play father, mother, and then they will practice that. And they won't be knowing where we are. This is, for now, it's crime. They will end up sexually assaulting the other kids. Yeah,
we're actually having a conversation about that. I don't know what the English phrase for it is.
Oh, that,
but we used to call it hausa, where playing house, playing house, where one is the parent and the other one is the child. But then you go a step further outside of the playing, and then there is the sexual assault that then happens. What conversation should be happening between the parent as well as the child, for the child to understand what sexual assault is, the consent that is required, but also the impact that sex could have, the after effects of it?
In that case, I think parents have to educate children for sex is there. You have to do it, but you do it on the right time. when you're in such an age, it's not good for you to do sex. I think the children must be educated. For sex is there, but there's a certain age that you have a right to do it. Yes.
And the child also speaking about when they have been violated, because that's another problem as well. Children being scared to speak out that this has happened to me, because sometimes they're being threatened as well, that they would be killed.
That also, it causes a lot of danger to kids, because the uncle will be doing it, then telling, if you tell my sister, I will kill you. You'll find out the child loves the mother too much or the father. So the weakest link that the perpetrator will see from the child, after abusing the child, will tell, then it will take time for ngwana go rabu. Then the child gore atla kgone bua. Then ngwana will do what? To have behavioral problem. Then when you find out, then when you said social worker will be sitting with kids, they will find out that the kids was abused before, but this was seeking the help. She couldn't tell anyone, or this happened to me, because whoever the perpetrator, intimidate, I will kill your mother, I will kill your grandmother, or I will kill your sister. Then now, it will be late, but still the child will get help.
Yeah. So how do we get society to create environments where children are comfortable to actually speak out, even though there is that threat?
That it can be education, just to educate. Educate till we'll get there. Yes.
What does it mean, though?
It means that
and I'm asking this also on the basis that, you know, some parents find it very, very difficult to speak about sex with their children. So how do we get to a point where a child who has been violated feels that an environment has been created for them to not only speak about the sex that has happened, but sex that has happened as a crime, the violation, the rape itself?
At the beginning, children must be taught about their private parts and the sensitive of it. Or when in your body, you have a right to touch this part, and your mother only have a right to touch this part. But if somebody touch you, you feel uncomfortable, then means you must report. That's how, like maybe from the daycare center, children must be taught about their body parts. Yes.
And the teachers?
Teachers also, they can do, let's say maybe children from grade RR to grade 1. From there, they can teach them how...
What's the language that you use?
Language
the language that you use, because, you know, sometimes they say the children that, no, abantwana beza aeroplane.
Yes.
That's the language that some parents would use, because again, they feel so uncomfortable speaking about sex.
Yeah, that one is really a little bit unhealthy. I think we have to stop. That's why I say the children must be taught sex is there, but the right time to have sex is when you're how old. Now sometimes when I go to crash, I always sing the song to say to the kids, I am important. Who is important? I am important. Naki butlokwa. Who's butlokwa is the child. And limilwaka ubutlokwa.
Yeah.
And then where somebody untoucha milwaka, unalmosenzeng untouch. Moa satsonang untoucha motinki moka. Rutangwana or who must touch where, who must not touch where. If somebody touch you here, you don't feel comfortable, you have to scream or you have to report to the teacher. If you're scared of the teacher, just report to the cleaner.
Yeah.
Yes.
And finally, amongst the family as well, sometimes the children are being told not to speak out because they are going to drag the family's name through the mud. And the family then decides to almost close rank and say that this thing cannot go public. How do we deal with that aspect?
That one, it happens a lot. It happens a lot because, you know, now you're reading stats there. You'll find out on those stats, those kind of the cases, there are more than those because the children won't be reporting because they are scared to, if you report Malume, you're not going to get food. You're not going to get 1, 2, 3. Then you end up, or the child will stay with that till maybe she's 20. Then I will not report that because now there's nothing neighboring, I must not report this for. Then the damage will be gone. Maybe the uncle also will be passed away already. We always get those kind of cases. Or now I was raped while I was 10, while I was 15 is my uncle. Now he passed away, so I need help. Why didn't you talk? I told my mother or my grandmother. They said it will be embarrassing for the family.
Yeah, and can only imagine the psychological impact that has on the child, the post-traumatic stress disorder that the child then carries with them into their adulthood. But thank you so much for your time. Elizabeth Mokoena is the clinic manager at Alexander Kidz Clinic. Thank you so much for making time for us. 55 children murdered between October to December 2023, which in essence means that every second day a child in Gauteng is killed.